Holy Hakaluki, it is Friday, my young Shitoshi-san. Rob Morales, RCO Network here on a Friday at the way past the lunch hour. We're heading into the work period, but you know, why we ever been on time? I don't know. But again, we're here at the lunch hour talking about your money, your finances, and things, maybe ergo Bitcoin. I don't know. We might get into that conversation. But with me, as always, I have a special guest host. He comes straight out of Sacramento, California. Please welcome Satoshi-san, Sacramento Satoshi. Thank you. There he is, everybody.
What's up, Robert?
Hey, you have an interesting setup there. Looks like a new setup.
Oh, I got a new microphone, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, let me calm the audience down.
Compliments of Robert and CEO Network, I guess.
Hey, yeah, that's what we do out here at CEO. We give you microphones if you're on the show. and really no relation whatsoever or things that happened last week. But speaking of things that happened last week, we had our CEO Network show, our quarterly event. You came to that, sir?
I did. It was so much fun.
How was your experience?
It was great. I probably had
too much to drink.
A little bit too much to drink, but other than that, it was. Jill Kimmel was on. She did a great job. She was super funny, and I got to meet everybody that you get to work with and see. So that was fun. An experience,
right? You got to come down to the studio. We didn't get to do a show last week because I think we overdid it on the vodka, but
probably a little hungover. Or goaded.
I just wanted wings that day. I just wanted to eat, but exactly. Enough about our transgressions, sir. But we're here to talk about money, right? It's the Finance Friday.
Sure.
So we have set aside a few minutes to reach out to everybody here. If you're on Facebook, on Twitch, LinkedIn, give us some love, give us some likes, and any kind of comments regarding your financial situation. We're not financial advisors by any means, but we might make you a couple bucks here and there, but you might not want to listen to us because we might lose you money. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, drop those questions so that way we know what to talk about.
Drop a line and a heart. But we did want to get into, we had a discussion last week and really was the focus on the show and what direction we're going. And I think the consensus between Satoshi and I is that, we want to help people. I would say I'm not ignorant towards finances, but I definitely, there is some room to grow and more to understand regarding how to manage money, how to make it grow, and how to make it work for me. And, talking to Satoshi last week, he's like, hey, I'm just here to help, and if this show provides anything, it really provides a platform for y'all, free of charge, just to have a discussion and kind of get engaged. So. Is that right? Well, Satoshi.
Exactly. Well, everybody's in a different level as far as where their finances are. And so I'm not like the supreme knowledge person of finance, but I've been doing it for a little while. So I have some knowledge, and the reason the whole show started was you wanted to find out more information. How do I manage my money, that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, you give me shit. I'm like, I don't know the terms or anything. And I'm like, yeah, this had a breakout. He's like, no, did not have a breakout. That is not a breakout, Robert. I'm like, it looked like one. It looked like, out of the lines. It looked like it broke out of the lines.
It's going out. It's going up. Must be a breakout, right?
And so I've been getting into it more and understanding. I've been taking more classes. I paid for some stuff just to understand how the functioning of it works. And, I think, between you and I mean, we helped our mom, and you in particular. She handed over roughly about $40,000. You're able to grow it, what, $6,000 in just 6 months?
Yeah, something like that. But also, I because it's my mom's money, I was very conservative, and it's not like I just plopped all the money down as soon as she gave it to me, because I didn't want to have to talk to her and then say, hey, you lost money. I always wanted to see her and say, okay, we're doing good. So, I haven't even put all the money in yet. I just kind of been layering in. And so that's one method. Unless you see something that's like really, that's an investment that you really like, and you see it dip down, then you can be more aggressive. But for the most part, I just dollar cost average.
Yeah, and I would say if you put that same 40,000, I'm trying to do some quick math while we're online right now. That same 40,000, if you left it in a savings account per se, you're usually getting what, 0.5% if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're
lucky. 0.005. So you're really making out of that. What is that? $2. So 40,000 times 0.005.
But you also got to remember that that's just the number.
Yeah.
So you can have $10,000 in your account, and maybe this is one thing that people kind of get tripped on. They have 10,000. Somebody gives you $10,000, and you put it in the bank, and you say, "I'm going to put it in the bank and just leave it there. That way, I know it's safe." In a year from now, you'll look in your bank account. It'll still be $10,000, but the purchasing power of that $10,000 is less,
Yeah.
especially now with higher inflation. You know, the government is saying it's around 5%, but some people are saying it's about 10 or 15%. So your $10,000, if you just leave it in the bank for a year, will only buy you $8,500 to $9,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go to the gas station and to fill up your tank, it's going to cost you more money. When you go out to eat, I don't know if it costs you more money. To do everything costs you more money. So your dollar doesn't stretch as far.
Yeah, I know. I think the obvious one for everybody is gas prices. I mean, that's probably the one that just sticks out the most. You know, a year ago when we were starting this whole pandemic stuff, gas prices were roughly around $2, and that was actually really nice. And now they're peaking around here anyway, peaking around $4. I can only imagine in California. I think that was what, $5.50 a gallon out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think somebody had a $7 a gallon out in Half Moon Bay or something crazy.
Yeah, and people don't necessarily account for that. They will look at their 10,000 and say, "Oh, I have 10,000," but really that purchasing power, if you were to take that same amount for gas, that same percentage, you've just lost some money there, in gas.
Right. And I think I sent you some inflation numbers. Basically, the highest inflation is living expenses.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to buy a house or you want to rent, that's super expensive. Energy, like we said, gas. And what's the other one? Food. So when you go to the grocery store, when you go out to eat, all those things are going to be. So you're doing pretty good with your cash if you don't have to eat, live, or go anywhere.
And we talk about purchasing assets, right, versus keeping it in the bank. So I'm purchasing a home. We just signed yesterday, and we should be getting keys today. Funding, everything happens today. So we've essentially taken 10%, which is $50,000 in currency, and moved it over to an asset, which is a house. And I do real estate, so a lot of my focus has been, for the past 8 years, thinking and understanding how the market works, how the market shifts, and certain reports. There's a few that say we're going to have a regression, but there are certain reports that say we're going to inflation is going to keep going 8 to 10% next year. And so, is it smart to park that $50,000 into an asset like a house? I believe so, but it's really, really how you feel about it. I can keep it in the bank, but I already know with inflation that $50,000 is going to be lessened instead of parking it in a house.
Right. So real estate is a great way to put your money into something that will grow, because so you want scarcity basically when you invest your money. And so, but the housing has gone up, I think 40 or 50% in the last 3 years. So it's kind of, it's already elevated. So then you get people saying like, oh, it's going to crash, it's going to go down. Those things are always hard to tell. So with real estate, if it's your primary home, for example, you just want to make sure that you can reasonably afford the payment.
Yeah.
Because it's not as easy as like stocks to get in and out of real estate. So it's a long process, as you probably know. Like you got to get approved, you got to put money down. So it's not like you can just buy and sell a home when it goes up. Let me just get out when it goes down, right? So, so because of that, if your house was to go down in value over the next couple of years, you're not going to sell it. You're just going to, as long as you can continue with the payment, you can live there for a long time. And that over time, that the value will continue to increase just because the dollar is debasing.
Yeah. And that was the biggest consideration. Where's the market going? And everything that I'm seeing, especially, and I think real estate really is a locality, very local, very specific. So nationally, our supply is increasing. So a 6-month supply is about average, is about a balanced market. And so nationally, a housing supply, for instance, is a balanced market right now. We're at about a 5.5 to 6 month supply, but locally here we're still at less than a month. Zero point 0.8 is the last report I saw. So we're less than a month, and I see that across the Sun Belt states. So again, real estate is a safe asset in my mind, especially since we've had this kind of shift in the work situation, employment. I believe that the housing market is going to increase in Phoenix. I was hoping for a dip. I was hoping to kind of collect and go buy a house cheap, and which is what everybody's thinking. But in particularly Arizona and the Phoenix market, I don't believe we're going to have that dip, unfortunately, as we progress into 2022. Will it change a little bit later on in the year? I believe so. I believe some more slowing with what the federal rate is being proposed at. But currently, no. But there's other assets too, right? Not just housing.
Right. Well, just a quick thing about housing. So millennials
Yeah.
are one of the largest uh, groups of people, as far as population. So it used to be baby boomers was huge, and then my generation kind of came in, and the numbers were pretty low. And now with millennials, the millennials are even a bigger group of people than baby boomers, and they're just their average age I think is in the low 30s. So that group is just graduating college and looking to buy homes. So that will continue demand, I think, for at least a few more years. Yeah, but I mean, there's other. Traditionally, you would look at real estate. You want to buy your own home, and then the more traditional ones are like bonds and stocks.
Yeah.
And then there was commodities. So some people would invest in gold, especially in like high interest rate environment like we have right now.
Yeah.
Gold used to be the go-to. But if you look, we've had high interest, and over the last 10 years, gold has been kind of flat. So it's not really doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I know.
Which,
I've read
which
some of the books I've read too. All pretty much say the same thing. Those institutionalists who are like that love gold. That's I parked some money in some gold miners, and that hasn't really worked out in my favor, as you will point out, I'm sure, because you looked at my numbers the other day.
well, a lot of people think that crypto is the new gold. Um, it was basically Bitcoin was the first crypto. It was based on gold, except it took all the negative things about it and
Yeah.
kind of it's like a laboratory engineered gold, where the problem with gold is you have to lug it around. You could save it and pile it up in your garage, but then if you got to move, you got to bring all this stuff with you.
Well,
So
there's a lot of
so
restrictions
no,
with gold too, like the actual physical part of gold. It's not easy again to sell. You can't just walk up into Circle K and say, "Hey, I bought 20 gallons of gas. Here's a gold piece for you." I mean, it's not like it's easy exchangeable.
right. Not everybody will just buy gold from you, and you can't go to
Yeah.
the store and use it. And then there's usually a lot of premium. So if you have some bars of gold, you want to sell it. That guy who's buying it from you is gonna take his cut
Take
off
his
of it.
guy.
I mean, there is some of that too with crypto. You might see that, okay, Bitcoin's at 61,000, and then I go to buy it, and it wants to sell it to me for 61,700. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. So that's
Well,
just
and
the
and, and I
premium.
and I think with crypto is it's just unknown, right? It's just unfamiliar. So I can go and grab a dollar. I can touch it. I've seen it before. If it's in the bank and I can exchange it, I used a credit card and I bought something for a dollar, and I can exchange it out and actually physically touch it. The thing with Bitcoin, again, it's unfamiliar. It's not widely used. I mean, it's being adopted more and more. Bolivia, right, or whatever country adopted it as a currency. So it's not widely used, but it's very unfamiliar, and I think people are scared of that, especially with change. And with Bitcoin, especially over these last 10 years, it's more and more out there. Whatever, it's being engaged more as a real asset, which it's not tangible. So it's not a real asset, but it is.
Yeah, and I think that's just you'll see a lot of the older investors that are like, yeah, just exactly what you're saying. I can't feel it, so I'm not too sure about it. But the cryptocurrency market will be driven by the millennials, and
Yeah.
millennials are used to having phones. They've always had phones, and they've, you know, they Venmo. You see a lot. Most of your money already is in a digital form, right? You go to the bank and it has a bunch of numbers in there, but I guess, if you go to the bank and say, "Hey, I want to take my 30,000 out," they're going to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you even go
And
to
take
Starbucks
taxes.
now, and they might and tell the IRS what you're doing. But anyway, like you go to some grocery stores and they'll be like, "Hey, we don't have a lot of cash,
Yeah.
so can you pay with credit card?" I mean, that's just the general trend of where things are going. It's a cashless system.
Well, and talking about Facebook, Facebook just changed their name this week. They're calling themselves Meta, and that's
Mhm.
in relation to the metaverse. And the
Right.
metaverse is just this. It's a place to where it's an ultra reality. We're here as people in this physical reality. I can walk down to the store. I can greet you. I can meet you at a networking event. We can have this exchange of monetary. Like I can give you $1 and you can give me 50 cents back, or 4 quarters back. That is our
Yeah.
physical universe. But there's this whole
Yeah.
metaverse being created, which includes crypto, which includes all these NFTs and things that are just non-tangible. You can't touch them. We're selling
Right.
art online for like thousands. You showed me a picture of a gorilla that went for sale, and I don't know how much. People are exchanging these things in an
Yeah.
ultra universe. So if you think of a video game, imagine living in a video game and doing the normal things you would in the real world, but almost like the Matrix, which is kind of scary.
Well, you've seen the movie Ready Player One, right?
No, I have not. I don't watch TV, buddy.
Oh, okay. Well, if you
Not too
haven't
much.
seen it,
I,
if you
I, I
haven't seen
I
it,
don't watch. I don't watch anything on TV. So, just kidding.
yeah, right. No, if you haven't seen the movie Ready Player One,
Yeah.
that's basically what the metaverse is. It's just an online place where people will go and speak. You can have, like, we could be in the metaverse now with our avatars, and people watching the show could be there and interact, and it's just a completely different. Yeah, you could be anything you want. But yeah, the metaverse will need
No.
cryptocurrency for its. You need cryptocurrency first before you get the metaverse, because the metaverse is. I mean, that's going to take a long time. But you see, like, that's one of the whole reasons I initially bought Facebook back. I think 2019. I bought it
Yeah.
because they were purchasing Oculus, and I bought an Oculus, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you've used my Oculus.
It
What do
was
you
just
think?
yeah. It's interesting and cool. You lose kind of your brain still functions like it's in this physical world, but it really isn't because you're just kind of moving around and you trip and fall and stuff. And you're kind of funny, in one respect, but it's also very serious in another because there's so many things. Like we have one of the guys that works here at Workuity. He's building a whole app and a whole process all online, and he puts on his Oculus and you kind of see him moving around. He's just moving blocks around, looking at files, and he
Mhm.
has like a fake typewriter. He'll just type in midair. I don't know what he's doing. It's
Right.
crazy, but that's kind of the direction our life is going, And this is very unfamiliar for people, I believe, 35 and older, but it's very, very prominent for people that are 18 to 25. I mean, this is just part of the norm. It's almost the early adoption of the cell phone. It's like you remember the brick, and it's like, oh shit, that's crazy that you can make a phone call out of nowhere. And
Right.
now it's just a part of us and part of the world.
Yeah, and I would say, like, when you go on Oculus, the games are pretty simple.
Yeah,
We're probably like in the Atari phase of VR. It's like we'll look back at these kind of things and be like, oh, it's just like a block moving back and forth. That's so. Can you remember
yeah,
when we used to play those really simple games?
yeah.
Um, but it'll just take a while for it
So,
to
so, so
develop.
getting
But yeah,
back in getting back into finance, and because we're wrapping up towards the last 10 minutes of the show, we did want to talk about some stocks a little bit, right? And particularly Bitcoin.
oh, Bitcoin.
We can start there, even though the show is this all ends in Bitcoin. We're kind of ending
Yeah.
there. So should I put up the screen, sir? I think this was your presentation part, right? Unless you want to do the
Yeah.
presentation part.
We can go through it if you want. It's just some notes I sent to you last night about while I was setting up my microphone
All right. So
related to this is just for basic. So would be more for people that, like, I want to take control of my finances. I want to get myself in better financial health.
yeah,
What are some steps that I can do to accomplish that? And number one is just to build a budget.
yeah,
So you gotta, and the way I do mine is on a monthly basis. So just take everything that all your monthly bills, or actually it starts with the money coming in. So write down, like, how much do you get in a
yeah,
paycheck? how much do you get in interest, any kind of money that's coming into your bank account. You want to list those as income. And then you look at all the money that's going out. So all your bills, um, and sometimes what I'll do is like if you have a credit card, I purchase everything on credit cards, so it'll break it all down for you and say,
Yeah.
okay, you spent $1,000 on going to the movies last year, and then you just divide it by 12. That's kind of how I do mine. But once you do that, then you can kind of look and say like, okay, what do I have that maybe I can cut out? Um, do I have Showtime and Hulu and HBO? Do I need all three? You know,
Some people would say yes.
yeah, maybe.
But
You have to determine what's important to you. But sometimes you'll see stuff that's like, oh, I didn't know I was spending this much on that. You could look at what is your core expenses versus discretionary. So like your rent or your mortgage would be a core expense. And so discretionary would be something like Starbucks. Like, do I go to Starbucks every day and spend $4? Can I skip that? Can I make coffee at home and then put $4 into Bitcoin and
yeah,
then wait 4 years, and you'll see like, whoa, I saved quite a bit of money. And then like eating at home versus eating out. And then also the money in would be like, okay, can I do a side job? Is there something where I can increase the amount of money? Can I work an extra shift? So that's basically what a budget allows you to do. What was the next one? I forgot.
next slide.
Yeah.
What's your credit score? That's
Okay.
always a big
Yeah.
one too.
What's your credit score, Robert? Is it high, low, or
It's
you rather
last. Well, it depends on which what you're pulling. I'm about a 780 right now.
not? Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah. So you got to know what is your credit score. Look at that. You want to avoid making late payments because everything will be based on your credit score. Like if people are going to lend you money, if you go to buy a car or something, all that's going to be based on what your credit score is. If you want to get an apartment, that kind of stuff. So you avoid making late payments.
Yeah.
What I do is I set up auto pay every month, so just so I don't forget, and then look at the amount of debt that's on there. Sometimes you'll see stuff that um, maybe I had an old bill that I forgot to pay, and
Um,
let me just take care of that just to help that. And then you can take all your debts and rank them based on interest rate, and focus on trying to pay off the high interest ones first. Next
okay.
slide.
Next slide. Well, I mean, there's different ways you can do that too. I mean, I would go for like the lowest hanging fruit, clear out those, so it frees up your credit too. But again, not financial advice. We're just kind of here going through the
Yes,
motions.
this is just kind of what I do, or what I still continue to do and kind of did in the beginning. But and then making more money, like that would involve like maybe
Yeah.
like we said earlier, working an extra job. Um, do I have? Is there stuff that I can sell? Like right now, cars are exploding. Used cars.
Yeah.
There's just not that many of them. So do I have an extra car that I can get rid of? Um, Me and my kids last summer we went through our garage and we're like, let's try to raise some money. What just stuff that's sitting around, like
Yeah.
an old iPhone, some old cameras. I sold like an old uh, bike thing carrier, and we made like $2,000 out of our garage.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
a
I
lot of
think it,
people have, they buy a new Xbox and then get rid of the old one.
yeah, and I would lean on not just selling stuff, but starting a business, and that's a whole other discussion in itself. But starting a business also gives you some tax benefits too, and it allows some flexibility regarding how you pay your taxes. But that's again some other show for another day, because we're
Yeah.
running out of time. We got 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, 5 minutes left.
So raise some
So then I guess
cash.
figure out how you can get more money in
Yeah,
on the budget equation.
but there's one particular way we can do that, right, sir? By
And then another way I put on there is start saving your money in an asset. So if you don't have money, let's say you're struggling a little bit, or even if you're not struggling and you want to save money,
yeah,
like we said, one way is to buy real estate, but that might be expensive. Another way could be the stock market. Just do like a dollar cost average into an index fund, or you could also start saving in Bitcoin. And the way I do it, or the way I would suggest, not financial advice to anybody, but You could open a Celsius account, um, and basically you just buy Bitcoin in there. They store it for you, and they will lend it out and pay you interest. I think it's somewhere around 6% on your Bitcoin, and they pay you every week.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing that income coming in, it kind of provides a motivator. Like, let me try to put a little more money in this and watch it compound over time.
Well, if I may put an asterisk in that last slide, sir, um, when you get into putting in money into Bitcoin or stocks, just don't go
Hmm.
throw it out there. Continue to be informed, continue to understand how the functionality, because Bitcoin in itself, if you try to follow it as a stock or try to understand the volatility, it's not really that easy. And even for somebody as well versed as Satoshi, he has trouble predicting where and how Bitcoin's going to come out and how much money he's going to be able to make. Am I accurate with that, sir? Can you predict Bitcoin? Can anybody
Mm,
predict Bitcoin?
well, nobody can predict the future, so
Right.
that's number one. But there's ways that you can kind of look to see, is this thing expensive or is it cheap? And so that's one good thing that we
Yeah.
should mention at this point. The stock market hit all-time highs today. Okay, so and Bitcoin, I think it bottomed out around 30,000. It's now somewhere around 60, so it's already doubled. I think it still has another doubling to go, maybe before the sometime next spring. But you don't, the short
Yeah.
term, you're exactly right. It can be kind of volatile. So the way I would suggest, if you want to start buying Bitcoin and saving your money in there, would be to just dollar cost average. So every week, um, like I said, if instead of going to Starbucks and spending $5 every week, put $25 in. That way, if the price goes down, you will continue to buy at a lower price, and again, they will be paying you interest while you have the money in there.
So you can purchase Bitcoin, you can purchase some of the altcoins through Celsius, correct?
Yeah, they don't have I will give you, they don't have a lot of coins, but if you're just starting out and you want to start putting some money, I would not suggest going crazy on altcoins. I would suggest starting with Bitcoin because it's the biggest. Um, and then if you were wanting to take a little more risk, you could also buy some Ethereum. Now, Ethereum just hit all-time highs yesterday, so
Actually, I
but
got that up too.
you would do this long term, okay? And the other thing I would tell you about Celsius, it's not the most user friendly app, because I had a few friends that asked me. I suggested, they were asking me what should I do. I said buy some Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin at that time was around 46,000. And so they said, okay, how do I do it? And then it took them several times to get all
Yeah.
the information. There's a lot of know your customer information in there, and you got to get approved. And some of them got frustrated and never finished. So just a bit of warning about that. It's not as user friendly as something like Coinbase or something like that. But that's way, I like the interest that gives it back to you.
Well, and again, I think the takeaway for me is just to be and continue to be informed, whether it's the show, whether it's other YouTube channels or whatever. Just continue to be informed and obviously make decisions that work best for you. I think for the majority of people that I've spoken to or I've come in contact with, their bitcoins or at least their cryptocurrencies are roughly pretty minimal of whatever their savings are or whatever their trading is. It's usually between 3 to 5% from discussions I've had from people. And roughly your percentage, your trading, your I guess your equities. What percentage is Bitcoin to you, roughly?
Um, my equity, well, of my overall money, it's almost at 8%.
Yeah.
But that's because but I've only put in like maybe 3% of my money. That's because it's grown. So that's what I'm saying. You put a little bit of money and you wait, just like a house. It will grow. You will
Yeah.
see that it grows into a larger portion of your money.
And a Satoshi is how much of a Bitcoin? One millionth, right?
Satoshi. So yeah, a Satoshi is 100 million of a
Millionth
Bitcoin,
of a
which
Bitcoin.
for $1 you can. I think the latest was you could buy $1 will buy you 1,600 Satoshis. And I mean, you never know. Satoshi could be the currency of the metaverse
The
if
new
you're
penny.
new. Yeah, I don't know.
But there's just, again, so much information to learn and to understand regarding any kind of finances, much less crypto. But it's in the verbiage. It's in kind of the mainstream right now. People wanting to get in, trying to understand it, but not knowing how or not knowing where to go. And I think the biggest challenge for people that are watching, is acquiring the money, because I know a majority of people that I've come in contact with live paycheck to paycheck, and it's really hard for them to save. And because it's always going to something else. But again, as Satoshi pointed out, saving up on that Starbucks, cutting back on something in your life is cutting back on a subscription. I mean, do you need the NFL lineup on DirecTV? I don't know. Or could you just go for free at the bar? But you might end up spending money on beer. Either way, I think there's always opportunity to cut back and then reacquisition that money into something that's going to make you money. And that's really the learning lesson from today's show, is that there are options out there for you to make money on your money instead of just going and wasting and giving it to somebody else. Yep, any takeaways, sir? Any takeaways as we wrap up the show today?
That's it. Just, you can start with using the steps that we talked about, and start putting your money into assets, because that's how you're going to, you want to grow your way to a wealth, more financially fit you.
Yeah. So we're here every Friday at the lunch hour-ish. We started a little bit late today. I had some shit I got to do. But we're here to bring you information regarding your money, your finances. We're not giving financial advice, but we're at least taking you on this journey, especially mine, because, again, I'm ignorant to a lot of this stuff. Maybe not completely, but it is Halloween, so I brought my Yoda shirt today. I'm bringing it out. Enjoying the day.
I got my Elon shirt, I guess.
Going hard and going long on Tesla, but we'll catch you guys next week at the lunch hour, and see you soon.
See you, Robert.
All right, bye.